Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are facing a reality that sounds impossible for a modern capital city, yet it is unfolding right now. Iran's capital is drying up. Tehran, a megacity of nearly 10 million people, is running out of water. What was once considered a distant warning has become an immediate threat, putting millions of lives, livelihoods, and the future of the city itself at risk. This is not a sudden disaster. It is the result of decades of decisions, neglect, and denial coming together at the worst possible moment. Tehran was never meant to hold this many people. Nestled at the foot of the Alborz Mountains, the city historically relied on seasonal snowmelt, underground canat systems, and carefully balanced groundwater use. For centuries, these sources were enough. They respected nature's limits, but modern Tehran broke that balance. As Iran's population grew and Tehran expanded into a massive urban center, water demand exploded. Housing projects replaced open land. Roads covered recharge zones, green spaces shrank. The city kept growing, but its water supply did not. Instead of slowing growth, authorities chose extraction. Wells were drilled deeper and deeper. Aquifers were pumped relentlessly. Rivers feeding the capital were dammed upstream. Water was diverted to agriculture and industry. The system survived, but only by borrowing from the future. Now that future has arrived. Today, Tehran's water system is under extreme stress. Reservoir levels are falling. Groundwater tables have dropped to historic lows. Entire neighborhoods experience low pressure or complete water cuts. In some areas, water flows only for a few hours a day. In others, taps remain dry for days. This is what experts call the road to zero day. In the moment when a city can no longer supply water through its network at all, the danger goes beyond shortages. Tehran is sinking. As groundwater disappears, the land above it collapses. Tehran is experiencing some of the fastest land subsidence rates in the world. In certain districts, the ground sinks by more than 20 centimeters per year. Roads crack, buildings tilt, bridges weaken. Most critically, underground water and sewage pipes rupture. Once pipes break, the system becomes vulnerable to contamination. Polluted groundwater seeps into drinking lines. Sewage leaks spread disease. Even when water flows, it may no longer be safe to drink. This turns a water shortage into a public health emergency. The scale of the population at risk is staggering. Tehran's metropolitan area holds close to 10 million permanent residents, with millions more commuting daily. If water supply becomes unreliable or collapses entirely, evacuation becomes a serious consideration, not because of war, but because life cannot continue without water. But evacuating a megacity is nearly impossible. Neighboring provinces are already water-stressed. Cities like Karaj, Qom, and Semnan struggle with their own shortages. Rural areas cannot absorb millions of displaced people. A water-driven migration wave would overwhelm housing, healthcare, employment, and food systems across central Iran. This is how environmental collapse becomes national instability. Climate change has accelerated every weakness in the system. Snowfall in the Alborz Mountains has declined significantly. Warmer winters mean less snow and earlier melting. That water evaporates before it can be captured. Summers are longer and hotter, increasing demand while shrinking supply. But climate change did not create this crisis alone. Policy failures did. For decades, scientists warned that Tehran's growth was unsustainable. They called for population decentralization, strict groundwater regulation, and conservation measures. Instead, construction continued. High-rise towers replaced farmland. Luxury developments consumed water at rates no desert city can sustain. Agriculture played a critical role. Water, Intensive crops were encouraged in regions that simply could not support them. Rivers that once fed Tehran were diverted to irrigation projects. Dams trapped sediment, disrupted natural flows, and reduced long-term water security. Illegal wells spread across the region. Enforcement was weak. Those with power accessed water freely. Ordinary citizens were left to cope with shortages. As pressure mounted, rationing began quietly. Water pressure was reduced to limit consumption, but this damaged pipes and increased leaks. Tehran already loses a significant portion of its water through aging infrastructure. Every drop lost brings the city closer to collapse. Daily life is already changing. Businesses struggle to operate. Restaurants close or limit services. Factories reduce output. Construction slows. Hospitals must prioritize water for critical care. Firefighting capacity becomes a concern. Schools face sanitation challenges. Every sector feels the strain. Inequality deepens. Wealthier neighborhoods install storage tanks, pumps, and filtration systems. Poorer districts rely on water tankers and rationing. They wait in lines. They store water in unsafe conditions. They suffer first and most. Women often bear the heaviest burden. Managing water scarcity becomes unpaid labor. Washing clothes, cooking, cleaning, and caring for children all become more difficult. Stress and exhaustion become part of daily life. Health impacts are growing quietly but steadily. Reduced access to clean water leads to hygiene breakdowns. Skin infections, gastrointestinal diseases, and kidney problems rise as water quality declines and salinity increases. Mental health suffers under constant anxiety and uncertainty. Officials speak of solutions, but time is running out. Desalination is often mentioned, but Tehran is far from the coast. Transporting desalinated water inland would require massive infrastructure and energy, both in short supply. Water transfer projects risk creating new crises in other regions. The most effective solutions are also the hardest. Reducing consumption, changing crop patterns, repairing infrastructure, restoring aquifers, pricing water realistically, and decentralizing population growth. These require transparency, public trust, and long-term political courage. The tragedy is that none of this was inevitable. Warnings were clear decades ago. Data existed, reports were written, but denial prevailed. Admitting limits was seen as weakness. Growth continued unchecked. Nature was pushed beyond its breaking point. Now, the word evacuation is being whispered. Not officially announced, but quietly discussed among planners and experts. They know that if 0 day arrives, chaos follows, panic buying, mass movement, infrastructure overload, and unrest. Water crises do not arrive with explosions. They arrive silently, gradually, until one day, nothing works. Tehran is approaching that day. This is not just Iran's story. Cities across the world face similar risks. From South Asia to the Middle East, from Africa to parts of the Americas, water stress is rising. Tehran is a warning written in cracked concrete and empty pipes. The lesson is simple and unforgiving. No city is too big to fail if water disappears. As we close this report, remember this: governments rise and fall. Economies boom and collapse, but without water, none of it matters. 0 day is not about politics. It is about survival. If Iran's capital runs out of water, the consequences will echo far beyond its borders. And by the time the taps fall silent, it may already be too late. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay aware, and we will see you in the next video.